G'day guys, Cam Wild Touring and welcome to this week's episode. Huge thank you to you guys that watched the last YouTube series we put out. That one took us across WA on the Great Central Road, through Northern Territory and South Australia and into Queensland through the Simpson Desert and right over to Fraser Island. All up it ended up being 9,500 kilometres across 5 states and all of that inside a 3-week window. It was crazy. It's one of the best trips I've ever done. It had some really high points and it obviously had a really low point with Gubbys' car braking. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about in this video this week. I wanted to do a little bit of a recap on the trip. I wanted to chat about things that you don't know about what happened with Gubby and Gubbys' car and what's happened since with getting the car back to Perth. I want to chat about other breakages that we had across the crew. It wasn't just Gubbys' car. Gubbys' was definitely the worst, but all of the cars had some sort of breakages on that trip. I want to chat about fuel economy. I want to chat about just some other sort of statistics. And I also want to tell you a couple of stories and show you some footage that didn't quite make the cut. Right, I got a shot of Alex coming through Nigala Rocks first. Put my body on the line as you do, helping out a mate, getting some good film. Look at this. That's what you get. My body in the firing line, covered in mud. Hope you enjoy your footage, Alex. Look at me, bro. Look at this. That's getting footage for Alex.
Oh, is it bad over there?
It's not too bad. It's bad if you stand right behind Alex. So a bit of a recap episode this one. I don't normally do that, but I've got a fair few things that I want to talk to you about. But before we get started and all of that, just in case you don't make it to the end of the video, because this may be a long one depending on how we go, I wanted to let you know that I have got a promotion that I'm running for the next 2 weeks with iCheck. So iCheck have recently brought out this new dash cam that I've been running, and I'll chat about this later in the episode and show you some footage of this thing. It's pretty cool. For the next 2 weeks, if you buy one of these things and you use my discount code WILD, not only will you save your normal 10% off iCheck products, you'll get free shipping, but you'll also get a free multi-tool. So I've had this for a couple of months as well. It's been sitting in my dash organizer on the dash, and I really quite like this. It's a really quick, handy way to grab a set of pliers, but I also quite like the screwdriver attachment. See here, we got a flat head. You can pull that out. And then you got yourself a Phillips head. Yeah, really handy. So that's free for the next 2 weeks with your dash cam purchase if you use discount code WILD. Anyway, let's crack on. I want to start talking about Gubbys' car. So when we were filming that episode, obviously all of us were really shocked with what had just happened. None of us expected that. It was pretty crazy. Gubby took it really bad. We all took it pretty bad. And before I even switched on a camera, filming anything for the episode was, like the last thought in my mind at the time. I filmed just enough to be able to tell the story, but I didn't want to pick a camera up, and there was no way that I was going to stick a camera in Gubby's face because he was distraught. He was absolutely gutted. So I noticed in the comments on the video and also from the post that I put on social media, on Instagram and Facebook, there were a lot of questions about why didn't we do bush fixes? Why didn't we do this? Why didn't we do that? Right, and that's fair because I probably didn't explain absolutely everything that we considered at the time because, like I said, didn't really want to film anything, just wanted to support my mate and help him through it. So here's a little insight into what happened. That happened smack bang in the middle of the Simpson Desert near the K1 line. So we're at best 160 kilometres and 600 sand dunes from the nearest sealed road and from the nearest township. And when I say township, I mean somewhere with a pub and somewhere with fuel. No spare parts for probably a 2,000 kilometre round trip. I'm thinking probably, we didn't ring around, we discussed it, but probably Alice Springs or Mount Isa, both of them are just under 2,000 Ks return trip to get back to where we were. And that's doing a desert crossing twice. So you're looking at, 4 to 6 days. 4 days if you're tearing along to get spare parts and come back. 6 days if you're driving a little bit safer. So these are things that we considered. We did consider bush repairs and stuff like that. A lot of people suggested, why didn't you pull the bonnet off and stick the front of the car on a bonnet and tow it along like a sled? Why didn't you find logs in the desert and strap them to your control arms and join batteries together in series and weld the thing together? Look, all of those things are good suggestions in the right scenario, and we didn't necessarily talk about every single one of those, but we did have a look at it and have a look at what spare parts we had and what tools we had, and we did consider trying to repair it, and we pretty quickly ruled that out, because the thing is, no matter what we did to bodgy that up to get it rolling, which I'm confident we could have done, the fact was that we'd only be in two-wheel drive, so we'd be towing the thing to get up sand dunes. And that's the problem. We've got 600 sand dunes before we get to, a decent track that we could tow the thing on without doing further damage. So really the only two considerations we seriously thought about was repairing it in situ or getting the thing towed. And ultimately the decision was Gubby's to make, and Gubby decided, based on a whole heap of external factors, that he wanted the car recovered the next day, and he wanted us to push on to Birdsville so he could speak to the mechanic and organise getting it fixed and getting it home. So Gubby made that call, and we supported him with that. Now, what you don't know also is that once we got to Birdsville, there's still no parts in Birdsville, and the mechanic needed 2 weeks to get parts in and to actually repair the car. That's how long it takes to do things out in the bush. I begged Gubby to come with me and Duffy and push on to Fraser Island so that I could bring him back and we could pick up his car and convoy home together. That would have been probably the cheapest way to do it. Other options were Gubby could have stayed in Birdsville on accommodation and waited it out for a couple of weeks and then driven his car home. But he was just cooked. He just wanted to get home. He wanted to be with his family. He was gutted. He was over it. So he jumped in the car with the other boys and went home with them. So he's up for, the best part of 10 grand for the recovery. But on top of that, you get a couple of grand in repairs in Birdsville and then a few grand to get the thing freighted back to Perth, because that's ultimately how the vehicle got back to him in Perth. So a horrific amount of money. Thank you to those of you that messaged me or commented or whatever and offered to try to support Gubby through that by asking if you could send money or set up a GoFundMe and stuff like that. When I told Gubby about that, it was tearing up in my car. So anyway, thank you for showing kindness and compassion. It's not necessary. Little did Gubby know that by the time he got home, the wheels were already in motion. His family had supported him, helped him out. His mates rallied behind him and raised a heap of money. It's testament to the bloke that he is. He's a top bloke, and everyone got around him, and he's doing all right out of it. All right, between his family supporting him, his mates supporting him, there was some insurance stuff there too. I don't want to get into specifics because it's not really my business about the figures and stuff like that. I just basically want to tell you that he did all right out of all of it in the end. So that's all good. On that note, I actually dropped Gubby off at the truck depot yesterday to pick up his car, and we saw his car for the first time, and nothing was pinched off the vehicle. The tie rod end's still bent. I think the steering rack was bent. There's still a few things. The wheels are on a pretty crazy angle towing in, and there's some camber issues and stuff like that. So Gubbs has still got a little bit of stuff he needs to get done, replaced on it, and it needs good wheel alignment, and then it's going to be good as it was. So I was chatting to him about it, and he basically said it's rocked his confidence in the vehicle. It's rocked his confidence in doing big remote trips, which is totally understandable. But he reckons he's going to come out in a few smaller ones, build that confidence back up, get some confidence in the car again. That car's been a lot of places. It's been all over the country. Once he's got that confidence back up again, he's going to be out there with us again, so that's awesome. One thing that we didn't do that I wish in retrospect Gubby did, definitely, was to take out that Birdsville recovery insurance. So Birdsville offer like a $500 package that covers you for your trip. If you have a failure like we did, they'll come pick you up, tow you back to Birdsville, cost you nothing extra, and you pay $500 up front for that cover before you leave. If you're going to do the Simpson Desert trip and you're not 100% confident in your car, or even if you are, seriously consider that. Your insurers, because I had a few comments from people saying, if you're with Ultimate RACQ, they come pick you up and stuff. Look, I'm not going to go into every single insurer and what they do and don't do, but I would encourage you to ring them and ask them, get something in writing, or go through your PDS with a fine-tooth comb. Even like Club 4x4 do off-road recovery, but it's like $1,500, and they only cover the first $1,500 unless you option it way up. And I've done that in the past. I had like 15 grand worth of off-road cover, but you pay so much more for it in your premiums that over 10 years, you could have saved that money and paid for your own recovery anyway. Just things to think about. Yeah, I don't want to go into specifics about insurance, but please look into your own PDSs and consider that Birdsville recovery package if you're doing the Simo yourself. Anyway, that's enough about Gubbys Breakages. I just basically wanted to give you an update because you probably didn't know the full story, and also let you know that Gubby's doing all right out of all it in the end, and he's got his car home, which is wicked. He wasn't the only person to break stuff, and I'm referring to my notes now because I wrote down everything that we broke. So Gubbs, yeah, obviously had that issue with the control arms both ripping off, one of them tearing. He also had a smashed windscreen. Duffy's got a smashed windscreen, a crack like from a rock. So does Leon. So 3 cars end up with cracked windscreens. I'm pretty sure I'm responsible for 2 of them. Just remember to keep safe distances between each other when you're on unsealed roads, guys. The fellas were probably at that time too close to each other when the windows got cracked. Duffy, his fridge slide and his fridge cable both end up damaged. They're both Kings. Both his water tanks ended up empty, one cracked and the other one still, he left the pump on and it dumped all the water. So there's a good lesson there to remember to take water in multiple containers. All of us, well, pretty much all of us had flag issues. Those sand flags are crap. Duffy's roof rack come off at one point. You would have seen that. His plastic boxes inside the tub will end up cracked and stuffed. Everything got rattled around in his car. Leaf sprung on the back and everything sort of bouncing around in that ute. Took its toll. Gary probably did the best out of all of us with the 200 series. His flag was giving him grief. His spotties came loose, and that was about it. Leon in the Jeep, his rear boot, you saw we had some dramas with that. The mechanism, it's the second time it's happened, and the first time was supposedly repaired. That mechanism that's meant to hold the boot shut just failed for some reason, but then it came good later on, so the corrugations fixed it. His car threw a code, which we tried to clear and we couldn't. And I mentioned he cracked a windscreen, and his air compressor failed as well, which was an air compressor that I gave him a while back, and he holds me accountable. My car, I had the flag issues. The lid of my King's 30-litre fridge freezer broke, so it no longer seals, and I'm trying to return that, but their warranty process is interesting. My car's thrown a code in Fraser Island, so you'd have seen that on my Fraser Island videos. I took the car to Pedders to try, needed a wheel alignment, and I asked them if they could clear the code. They've got all the latest software on their workshop tool, and they couldn't clear it. I took the car to AGD Auto, my mechanic in Wangara. He's got a different brand workshop tool, all the latest updates, couldn't clear it. It sounds like it's probably an ADAS thing, and it's going to have to go back to Toyota to be recalibrated. I'll talk more about that in a couple of weeks. The car's got over 30,000 Ks on it now, and I want to do a bit of a review on that car. Things that I like, things that I don't like, things that have gone wrong. That's coming up in a couple of weeks, and I'll hopefully have some answers about this code and be able to chat about that. So keep an eye out for that if you're interested in how the 300's going. Now, my air compressor, I spoke about this at the end of the Great Central episode. I run a Garmin Power Switch, which is essentially an app in your phone. Also works on my Apple CarPlay in the car, and I can remotely turn on my air compressor, which sounds really cool. I love the idea of just pulling up, press the button on my CarPlay, air compressor's cycling, ready to go. I can jump out and plug in. You think it's going to save yourself a couple of seconds until your phone is full of storage, and the app was remotely stored on the cloud, and I was out of reception. So when I tried to open the app wasn't there. It tried to download the app. It couldn't because I got no reception. I can't turn my air compressor on. I would have either had to rip the drawers apart to physically find the switch to turn it on, which is buried somewhere in my drawer system, or the way that I did manage to do it, luckily, I run a Garmin Navigator GPS unit, and that has the app installed in it as well. If I didn't have that Garmin unit, I'd have been in trouble. And a few people have asked me what I think of that Garmin GPS. I love it. It uses HEMA maps, but it's a lot quicker, snappier. It's nicer hardware than the HEMA, in my opinion. If you're looking for an off-road GPS, I do rate that Garmin. So we were out there in late July, early August, and I think that was a great time to go. With the rains, it was a little bit touch and go at first, but it ended up being really beautiful out there with the late rain because the wildflowers were just in bloom everywhere. So I'm really happy with the time that we went. Few people asked me about whether the Simpson Desert and Fraser Island met my expectations, And I know why you're asking me that. I think with the Simpson Desert, Gubby's accident really took the shine off the whole trip, right? And I'm not an actor, and I would have been wearing that on my face. So there was that. I still really enjoyed the Simpson Desert. I enjoyed that entire trip. But yeah, what happened with Gubby did take the shine off it. There's just no two ways about that. Also, in terms of like the Simpson Desert meeting my expectations, it didn't. And that is that I expected something a little bit different. I think other YouTubers paint the Simpson Desert as this really remote, hardcore adventure. And that's certainly how I built it up in my mind. Then actually getting out there and doing it, that track cops a lot of traffic. It's pretty chewed up. There's cars everywhere. It didn't really feel super remote to me.
G'day, mate. G'day, guys.
G'day, how are you?
Good.
Oh, how cool is that?
This is good.
Woo! How good. Traffic jam. It's like a bloody car park here. It's packed.
I liked how you were like, he's like, yeah, we're convoy 4, and you're like, yeah, well, we're a convoy 5. It's like,
Well, the bigger convoy always goes through first.
you're right.
Would you believe it, eh? In the middle of 3 states.
Yeah.
500 people.
Yeah.
I think they've all turned up, honestly.
Although when you've got to get a tow truck, you realise it's fairly remote. Still enjoyed it. Still loved it. The other thing is, it's a lot of same. 1,200 sand dunes over, 400 kilometres, whatever it is. It's a lot of up and down. Not a lot of vegetation, not a lot of animals, not a lot of water holes, or not much anyway. There's a few lakes and stuff like that. Still beautiful, don't get me wrong. I loved at night, no light pollution, so the stars were just amazing. The wildflowers were beautiful, the sand dunes were great fun, the driving was easy going. I did really enjoy it. If I'm going to do it again, or when I do it again, because I do want to, I'm going to go out there and do a different line, do something quieter. The Hay River track, the Madigan line, don't really know yet, something like that. But yeah, I did thoroughly enjoy it. Look, Fraser Island was kind of the same. It wasn't what I expected. I haven't been there for 25 years, so it was so much busier than I remembered. Obviously, I was 9 years old when I was there last. But I loved the way that we did it. I checked out all the sites with Alex on the East Coast, and then we pushed over to the West Coast, and that was more my style. It was quieter, a little bit wilder. Thoroughly enjoyed Fraser Island, and I understand why. There's bollards around the place, there's designated camp areas, there's no campfires, there's rangers, there's police, there's speed limits. I get it. I actually get it all. I think they need all of those things in place because Fraser Island is so beautiful and it's so close to civilization. It's so accessible. If they didn't look after it, we'd destroy it. So yeah, love Fraser Island. Can't wait to get back there. What I didn't love was how much money I spent on this trip. Like I said, I was only away for the best part of 3 weeks, but just did so many Ks that I was bleeding money on fuel. So all up, and I'm just looking off screen here, I used 1,357 litres of fuel over the 9,511 Ks. Now, I averaged 14.2 litres per 100, which I think is really good when you consider the weight, the bigger wheels, and a lot of that was off-road stuff. That includes the Great Central, the Simpson Desert, and Fraser Island. So I'm really happy with that economy. All up, I spent over $3,000 on fuel inside 3 weeks. The most I spent on fuel was at Warburton, $3.60 a litre. That is one expensive fill-up, but you don't have any choice, so you just pay it. On that note, Yallara, the little township that looks after Uluru, I paid $48 for a 6-pack of beer there because I was running low on grog. Now, there is limits on how much grog you can take through some areas, like dry communities and whatnot. You've got to be careful you don't carry too much grog. But look into it when you're driving through Central Australia, because if you run low on it, you're going to pay for it. Actually, I found Yallara was really funny because we had a meal there, and it was like a steak and sides for, $45-50 or something like that. It was expensive, but we just wanted to have a meal out together at the pub. And you've got to cook your own steak, which is pretty funny because no matter how bad and chewy that steak is, you can't take it back and complain about it because you cooked it yourself. So they've got you there. I thought that was pretty smart. What else do I want to talk about? Oh, Duffy. I love Duffy. He is an endless source of entertainment. He was with me from the start and he was with me to the very end. He was the consistent one through that whole series on every trip.
Bring it on!
That bloke not only is he an endless source of entertainment, but he's also an endless source of content. He is Captain Stuck. And you saw footage of him getting stuck a few times on Fraser Island. I didn't show you much footage of him getting stuck in the Simpson Desert. At the top of Big Red, somehow, I don't know how, he's gotten bogged on the peak of Big Red. He's completely diffed himself out, and I've had to recover him on the top of Big Red, which was super embarrassing with people around, taking photos or whatever. But yeah, no, he was good for content. At one point, I cracked the shits with him and I tried to lock him in the back of his canopy, which was a good laugh. It's the simple things, Tone.
Really hard.
So after 9,500 Ks, the car was ready for a service pretty much as soon as I got home. So I ducked up to Wangara to see my mate Aaron from AGD Auto, and they serviced the car. What you might not know is Aaron has pretty much doubled the size of his workshop recently. He's bought the unit next door, and so now not only is he fitting out brand new Land Cruisers, servicing Land Cruisers, doing full builds, he is also doing full auto electric builds now. So he's got Andy, the wizard that you might remember from Off-Road Living, is working for him, and they're doing full fit outs and stuff now as well. So if you're looking for a full build or some auto electric stuff or whatever, definitely have a chat to Aaron. He's doing really good things, and his setup is clever, really clever. So I took advantage of that while I was there, obviously, and I got the boys putting a couple of USB-C points into the back of my glove box, and that's for the kids to charge their devices while we're doing our big lap next year. The other thing I got them to do was hardwire my dash cam, my iCheck dash cam. Let me tell you about this. Sam from iCheck told me about this months ago and asked if I wanted one, and to be honest with you, at first I was like, Sam, I don't need one of these because my car is not a commuter. I don't drive in and out of the city in traffic on the freeway. I don't really use my car for school runs or for shopping or anything like that. So I don't think I'm going to have a bumper bender or something with another car. And I kind of just sort of thought that's all dash cams are for, which is probably all some people use them for. Sam mentioned to me that this has got a decent sensor in it and 4K resolution. And then I thought to myself, well, maybe I can use that for footage. It'd be cool if I could pull footage off this because it's constantly recording on your dash. It rewrites over the card, every however many hours, depending on the size of the SD card. I've stuck a 256 in there, so it records for a hell of a long time. So I took it on the Simpson Desert trip. I still wasn't too sure about it. So you might have noticed in footage there was a cord hanging from the dash. That's because I didn't want to hardwire this unless I thought it was decent. Anyway, I've come back from the trip. I've looked at the footage. I didn't use any of my trip videos because I stuffed up and had a patch on the dash and it was reflecting on the window and I didn't like it. But I do like the footage and I will use footage from this in future trips. So I got the boys from AGD to hardwire it. And that's because I'm lazy. The harness it comes with did have like a little fuse plug and play thing. So you can install this yourself just by plugging it into your fuse box or use the 12-volt cigarette socket, whatever you want to do. But I got AGD to install it for me. And really like this thing. The other funny thing is, right, because Tiff and I are having this conversation about whether I'm going to use this dash cam, and I'm telling her how originally I didn't think I needed one. Well, last week, Tiff's rang me from work and I'm home looking after Brodie. And she said, can you drop me off a coffee? I'm dying for a good coffee. So I've whipped up to her work and dropped her off a coffee. And in the car park, there's a young P-plater. He's reversed straight into me. And I was actually a little bit excited because I ripped the dash cam off the dash. And I was like, yes, finally I got an accident I can have a look at the footage from. So there you go. It's come in handy for a couple of reasons. It does other stuff. Like I haven't set it up yet, but you can set it up so that it's always on, like a park mode or something like that. So it's always on and recording stuff, like in case crooks are trying to break into your car or whatever. It switches on automatically as soon as your ignition is started and it just auto records. So you don't have to think about it. It just does its thing. If there's an accident, pull it off, get the SD card out, stick it in your computer and have a look at it, or pull footage off it like I am. So Sam is doing a discount or a promotion on those for me at the moment. He always does a discount code for me. Any iCheck stuff, wild, and you save 10%. But on the dash cam, not only will you save 10%, and get free shipping, but for the next 2 weeks, if you buy one, you'll also get that free multi-tool that I showed you at the start of the episode, which is a pretty good deal. So jump onto that if you want to. It's all good gear. While you're there, also look at his new deflators. I've been using them for a couple of months now, and I love them. Maybe I'll show you a little bit more about them later on. Now, what's coming up next couple of episodes? I want to do a swag review. I've had that Calkine Mega Swag for ages now. I've spent a heap of nights in it and I'm ready to review it. So I'm going to go through the things I like and the things I don't like about that swag. That's coming up really soon. I've had a few people ask me about that. The other thing I've got coming up is a review on the car. Like I said, I've ticked over 30,000 Ks. I've had a few dramas. So that code that you saw on Fraser Island, I haven't been able to clear it. It's got to go back to Toyota. Before I do this review, I'll get that code sorted because I want to chat about that in that review video. Because it's the second time it's happened, I want to talk about that. And also, just rattle off things that I like, I don't like, and give you a bit of an overall review about that car in terms of, family wagon, towing, full driving, economy, all that sort of stuff. So if you're into that, keep an eye out for that. And then Tiff and I are off to Japan to meet my brother-in-law and sister-in-law over there who are living there at the moment. Mum and Dad are coming with us as well. I'm going to film a little bit of a vlog, maybe 1 or 2 episodes over there. I know that's totally different and maybe not everyone's going to be into that, but we did the similar thing last year in Christmas Island and I got really good feedback from it. It's just something different. We're trying to broaden our horizons a little bit with some overseas travel when we can afford it and when it's doable with the schedules of everyone. And I want to take you guys with you and show you what we're doing on family holidays. Maybe we'll inspire you to check out some other places as well, because at the end of the day, that's what this channel's always been about. Taking you with us, just showing you what we're up to, hopefully inspiring you to do something with your family or with your mates or good things for yourself. Thank you for watching, guys. Cheers, and I will see you in the next one.